Shalom. Prophet Dion here. Listen, the Lord put this in my spirit. I was just talking to a good friend of mine, and I've been talking to her since she's been in recovery from her healing journey. And one of the things she struggles with, and I'm sure she won't mind me saying this, is family. And I believe that all of us struggle with family from time to time. One thing we got to understand as children of God, when you come closer to God, the first thing he tells you, if you read the four Gospels, in the very beginning of Matthew, he tells us, they that are your foe are they that are of your own household. And we got to learn to take the Lord at his word for what he says when he says it. Literally. Don't read the word and don't take it literally. But he says they that are your foe in the original text. When you look up the word foe means adversary. And that word adversary means someone who has a strong, passionate dislike for you. So when we go back to the word, speaking about they that are your foe in Matthew, you begin to understand that just because you were born into the family does not mean that because you are getting closer to God, your family is supposed to be getting closer to you, or they should understand, or that they should even be happy. People in this world are not happy that you are getting closer to God. They could care less. They really could care less. Why? It's not them. We don't wrestle against flesh and blood, but against those powers, against principalities, against rulers of darkness in high places. And when you begin to understand this, you see from the inside, spiritually, that you're not fighting against your family. They have become your foe because simply there's something else operating in them that did not want you to ever get to a place where you got closer to God. It didn't want you to notice that it was not your family, but that it was the spirit. Why? So that you can continue to fight your family. But when you begin to understand this spiritually, you don't handle them the same way anymore. You deal with them accordingly. And sometimes until you can be consistent and persistent in your approach on love or in love to deal with them, sometimes you have to distance yourself and allow God to remold your character, to reconstruct your way of thinking so that you may be strong enough when the time comes to be able to withstand that spirit just long enough to help your family or help your family member come out of that dark place. God calls us a light, but sometimes the light has to realize in order for the light to shine, there has to be darkness around. A light can shine among other lights, but it won't stand out. You need sometimes for God to clutter your life with darkness so that when he brightens you up, you shine everywhere. When you put a light bulb into a lampstand, you don't put the lampstand underneath the bed. You won't, because it won't give light to the whole room. When you put a light bulb into a lamp, you place it on top of something to where it can give light to the entire room. So sometimes you have to give God room in the darkness in your life to create a place where he can place you on top of something, and that way you can give light to everything around. We want that when we come to God, everything's supposed to come together. No, it takes time for things to come together. You have to fight, you have to work, you have to worship, you have to pray, you have to fast, you have to really be in his presence. So we have to get to an understanding that when you're coming to Christ, please, for your sake and mine, according to scripture, and this is not my words, don't expect your family to be in your corner praising and worshiping for the fact that you're coming closer to God. Instead, be in expectancy for them to fight you, for them to make you feel bad about the journey you're on, and for them to persecute you about it. You ought to accept these things and wholeheartedly not hold it against the person that's making you feel bad. This is maturity in spirit, because you begin to understand you're not fighting flesh and blood, the person. No, God made everything and said that it was good. Only the enemy has come to do damage to families. God is still for families. God is in the business of saving families. But he always wants to use one person out of the family who's willing to be sanctified, set apart, and who's willing to make a sacrifice not to be a part of the family structure for a time period. The question I have for you is, are you willing to be that vessel that God can use as the one that he separates from the family, so that in due season he can bring you back to the family and you can part the Red Sea in your family? That's my question to you. I pray that this in some way has helped somebody. In some way, form, or fashion has helped somebody. I pray that God blesses you to be able to grasp the concept that you don't need your family in this season. If they're not helping you get closer to God, it's okay. It's okay. What's not okay is you staying around until they destroy the little bit of you have left. Get out, pray, seek God, let God bring you back to them. But when you come back to them, you'll be a different you, a stronger you, more mature you, and you'll know how to handle them accordingly. And it won't have the same effect on you. I love you dearly, and I pray for you daily. Shalom.